Hi BookTube, I am just one reader. Thanks for tuning in. Today, in this Friday Reads video, I will tell you about the books that I finished reading this week, what I am currently reading right now, and what I plan on reading next week. So, the first book that I completed this week was The Hound of the Baskervilles. This is the third Sherlock Holmes novel that I've read, like full-length novel, and I have this beautiful new annotated Sherlock Holmes by Leslie S. Klinger. He's the one who is annotated all of the canon of Sherlock Holmes. This is just one of 3 volumes that, if you put them together in a set, you form the Sherlock Holmes silhouette, and they look beautiful on the shelf. So, The Hound of the Baskervilles is a very intriguing, suspenseful, very strange mystery novel. It is basically the story of this. Of course, it's a man who comes to visit Sherlock Holmes, to consult Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson, and he is tormented with a mystery, as you know, as it usually happens in these stories. But this particular mystery I found very compelling, very strange, and very captivating. On top of that, I really enjoyed the banter, the dialogue between the characters, especially, every single time that Sherlock makes an appearance, he just steals the scene. He is such a quirky, weird, but warm character. I really, really like him as he's written in the original Sir Arthur Conan Doyle stories. I don't particularly like the iterations of Sherlock that we have nowadays, the Robert Downey Jr. or the Benedict Cumberbatch, which, I have some problems with those adaptations. They also have some really positive sides to them, but I really, really love the original Sherlock Holmes. So I was really enjoying this particular novel. I thought everything was right. It was atmospheric. It was creepy, like actually chilling. It was the imagery was beautiful, and as always, the writing style is evocative but very clean and sophisticated. So it is the kind of writing style that I really enjoy. However, I gave this novel 3 stars out of 5, and that is mainly because, as it has been the case with my history of reading Sherlock Holmes, I really enjoy everything leading up to the resolution of the mystery. But once the mystery is solved, that's when I have some problems. And the same thing happened here as well with The Hound of the Baskervilles. I thought everything was wonderful, but once we got the resolution, when the mystery was finally answered, I found it far-fetched. I found it the kind of mystery that the reader couldn't have really solved on their own. It's like it felt just a little stretchy for me, if you know what I mean. It felt a little far-fetched. I mean, I can forgive that. But yeah, I just haven't really liked the way that the Sherlock Holmes novels, I've only read the novels so far, the 3 novels that I've read in the Sherlock Holmes canon, I just haven't really liked the resolution. So hopefully this will change in the last novel that I haven't read, which is The Valley of Fear, and the short stories. I still have all the Sherlock Holmes short stories available. I haven't read them, so I really hope that they work better, which is actually something that I've heard, that Sherlock Holmes works much better in the format of a short story than novel. So I enjoyed it, but it's not perfect. Then after that, I read Hamlet for one of my psychoanalysis classes that I am taking, which is a class on dream analysis, and we had to read Hamlet because there is a very important psychoanalyst who analyzes dreams using the analysis of Hamlet as a kind of not guideline, but he mentions the analysis of Hamlet in order to understand an approach to dream analysis. So I had to read this. I don't really like reading plays. I don't really like reading old English, and I didn't really enjoy reading this. I read it very quickly. This is actually, I think, an abridged version. It has to be. I liked it. I can see the appeal. I can see how interesting it is and how mysterious it is. And I did actually really enjoy the analysis that we did for this piece. I really enjoyed the psychoanalytical exploration of the text and how it relates to dream analysis. But that's it. I don't really know what to say about Hamlet. But then, after reading Hamlet, I finished reading Bring Up the Bodies by Hilary Mantel. Oh, so many things to say about this. Just as I in my last video last week, I was talking about Wolf Hall and how I felt sort of strange about discussing that book, and the same thing is happening here with this one, Bring Up the Bodies. What I can say is that I enjoyed this much more than Wolf Hall, even though I can totally see why many people prefer Wolf Hall, and I can see why, because Wolf Hall is longer and it's deeper in a way. It stretches over a much longer period of time, and it feels more inward. It feels more character driven, and it's more like a tapestry of things going on, and there's many things in Wolf Hall, which is also why it is so confusing and so frustrating, but also wonderful. So it's one of those cases of your strongest weakness is also your strongest suit. Your biggest weakness is also your biggest strength. That's kind of what I felt with Wolf Hall in relation to the huge tapestry of things. Now, on the other side, on the other hand, Bring Up the Bodies is the opposite. This is much more focused. It felt very clear, very clean, very cleanly executed, no pun intended. It felt much more accessible, and I really liked that, because considering that this is the second part of the trilogy, because I know that the third one, The Mirror and the Light, is not going to be like this, because it's a tome. It's very long. I haven't got my copy yet. It's still coming in the mail. It hasn't arrived here, but I know that it's long. I know that it's more like Wolf Hall in that regard that I just mentioned. But so, coming back to Bring Up the Bodies, I really, really enjoyed this. I loved it much more than Wolf Hall, even though, as I say, I can see I can see what both of these books have done right, and also their weaknesses. What I really loved about Bring Up the Bodies was the writing. I felt just completely like swept me away and just like hit me in the face. I mean, this is not really a spoiler, but the first lines, especially the opening line of the first chapter in here, was wonderful. And I want to read it out loud. And then the last paragraph was also wonderful, and there's nothing spoiled in here. So I'm going to read that quickly. The opening line is, "His children are falling from the sky." And the final paragraph is the word, however, is like an imp coiled beneath your chair. It induces ink to form words you have not yet seen, and lines to march across the page and overshoot the margin. There are no endings. If you think so, you are deceived as to their nature. They are all beginnings. Here is one. I read that and I was like, yeah, this is it. It was great. It was a victorious book, all in all. I really liked also how this book is much more encapsulated. It feels very much like one event in history, and I have to remind you, if you didn't see my video about Wolf Hall, I didn't know this happened in history. I had never heard of any of the people in here. Henry VIII, Anne Boleyn, Thomas Cromwell himself. These are people that I had never heard of. So reading these books for me has been a joy because I have no baggage whatsoever. This book concerns the downfall of the character of Anne Boleyn, and I didn't know what was going to happen to her. I know that if I had gone on Wikipedia or Google, I could have found out what happened to her. I didn't know if she was going to live, if she was going to die. When she finally died, and the way that she died, and the way that it was written on page 395, that number is imprinted in my brain forever. My heart was pumping. I was completely entranced and in shock. And the way that she dies, just the way that it's written, everything leads up to that moment. It's wonderful. I really loved that. Now, I do have to say, as amazing as these books have been, both Wolf Hall and this one, I just don't feel like they are 5-star books for me. And let me tell you why very quickly. The way that I rank books on Goodreads, first of all, Goodreads is missing out because they don't do half stars. So I really don't like that because it's a difficult choice to give a book 3 or 4 or 5 stars. There is a big difference. To me, this was like a strong 4.5 stars. But I had to go with a 4-star rating on Goodreads. The reason why this is not a 5-star is because for me, when I decide to give 5 stars to a book, that implies a very personal connection, a very personal resonance and experience that I have with that book. So the book can be less than perfect, but if it captivates me in a very, very personal way that is going to be memorable for me, in other words, if a book becomes a Juan book, a book that I feel was written for me, that's when I go with 5 stars because it transcends merit, I guess. So, for example, I gave French Exit by Patrick DeWitt, which I read 2 weeks ago. I gave that book 5 stars, and I can see that this one is much better than French Exit in the way that it is constructed and written and all the things that it does as a novel. This is clearly wonderful. It's a 10 out of 10. However, French Exit was such a personal, wonderful, emotional experience for me that I gave it 5 stars, and I gave this 4.5 stars. So I'm really excited to pick up the 3rd book. As soon as it comes in the mail, I will be reading that. But in the meantime, I started reading Ohio by Stephen Markley, which is a book that I've heard great things about from various booktubers and people in general. And I just read the prologue, which is about this small town in Ohio and there is a parade that they are doing to honor a young, I think he's young, a young man who died, who was just killed in a war, and I think it's in Iraq, and but what Stephen Markley, the author, does is really wonderful, because he's, again, like in Wolf Hall, there's this feeling to me of like a tapestry, of like it's like a canvas of many different things, and he's painting the scene of everything. He's setting up the scene for everything that is happening in the book. He's sort of setting the characters up, setting the actual setting up, and he's letting us know that there is more beneath the surface in this town, and there's like something else going on. So there is a sense of mystery and intrigue as well. I think the writing, at least in this first section, prologue of the book, I found it a little bit over descriptive and overwritten in general. I felt it a little irksome in some descriptions. However, what he's doing is very ambitious, and I think it was very successful, and I really liked it. I really, really liked it, and I thought it was very evocative. So yeah, really looking forward to this novel, and that's what I will plan to read next week. And yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching this video. Please let me know in the comment section down below, what are you reading? What have you read? If you have any comments whatsoever regarding these books that I mentioned today, I look forward to discussing them with you.